The Rebel Capitalist Show.
Video that I just saw you do the other day about the difference between motivation and self-motivation. And you're using the example, I think it was some of your salespeople with their calendar. Can you go over that? Because I think that really hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, I mean, I used to run for a decade and a half, I used to run a sales meeting every Monday morning. And I would get up and I would say, okay, guys, take your calendar out. And what do you mean? Take your calendars out. And they would take their calendars out. Let me see your calendar. Everybody, show your calendar to each other. Hey, let me see your calendar. Let me see your calendar. Let me see your calendar. I don't want to show my calendar. Why don't you want to show your calendar? I don't want to show my calendar. Okay, great. I mean, we all know why you don't want to show your calendar. You didn't run a lot of appointments last week, right? And finally, one day comes up to me. This guy comes up to me, very talented guy. He says, this business doesn't work. I said, really? Yeah. I said, what business doesn't work? He says, financial services. I said, wait, what? He says, financial services doesn't work. I said, why is it that every top 10, 20 metropolitan city in America, the tallest buildings they have in downtown, the logos at the top are all financial firms, banks and insurance companies? You think those multi-billion-dollar buildings were built by a company in an industry that doesn't work? I don't know about that. I said, let me ask you a question. How good of a closer are you? I'm one of the best closers you have in the office. Really? I am. What's your closing ratio? If I sit in front of a client, I close no matter what, 70% of the time. Wow, you're amazing. I am. Okay, great. How many deals did you close last month? I only closed 4 last month. Oh, so you only closed 4 last month? Yeah. And you were 70% closing ratio? Yeah. Okay, so that means you only ran 6 appointments last month. How the hell you think you're going to make it in sales running 6 appointments? How do you think you're going to make it? You ain't going to make it if you ain't running 10 or 20 appointments a week, let alone 6 appointments. So you didn't. So now let's break it down. Each appointment, how many hours does each appointment take? 2 hours. So you really only worked 12 hours last month. How do you expect to make it in financial services on 12 hours of work in a month?
Yeah.
How do you expect to do? Oh, okay, well, wow, it's not really like that. Then let me see your calendar. No, I get the point. You get the point.
Yeah,
So
and then the self-motivated guy, if I remember the story,
yeah.
he showed his calendar on like a Skype call or something like that. And like every single half hour, just bam, 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 bam.
And he scares the hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
Because everybody has to make the one decision when you see those numbers. Am I willing to work as hard as Matt? Sheena, am I willing to? No, I'm not. Okay, then don't expect to be number one. Don't expect to make the kind of numbers and money that these guys are making. That's okay. His calendar's full. Yours are, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're watching YouTube videos. These guys are making phone calls and they're working. So, and by the way, somebody may be watching this and they're not in sales, but they're a business executive. Same applies to you in different measures. I call it DMA, daily monitoring activity. Every business has a different activity. Then I drive that daily monitoring activity to executives, directors, salespeople, sales leaders. It doesn't matter. We all have a DMA.
Okay, so I want to quickly go back to the story of the 54-year-old. And when I heard that, the first thing that struck me, and I retired as an entrepreneur in 2012. And one of the big components there is I felt as though what took me to the next level is I was able to get rid of ego. And I was able to look myself in the mirror and be honest with myself as to what my strengths and my weaknesses are and were. And I think maybe that's what the 54-year-old gentleman did that allowed him to be so successful financially. Why is it so hard for people to get rid of ego, to be honest with themselves on what their strengths and weaknesses are? And how can we do that better?
It's not easy. It's not like, look, think about it this way, um, kids, when you have kids, one of them is always feels inferior to the other one. Why? One is taller, one is stronger, one is smarter, one has green eyes, blue eyes, one's got brown eyes, one's got whatever. So I'm like, oh my gosh, why don't I this? And I wish I was tall like him. And I wish, okay. Listen, eventually it gets to a point in your life that you have to realize even a Brad Pitt has insecurities. Okay.
Right.
Even a Kardashian has insecurities. Even a pick the best looking guys in the world, Ryan Gosling, you go on the other side and pick whoever you want to pick, right? There isn't nobody that's picture perfect when you see them. Nobody. So you sit back and you say, like, I remember one time I sat down and I said, okay, if I were to say, what's my biggest strength? What would it be? Okay. What is my strength on what I do well? And I started kind of writing that. Say, babe, what do you think? What's my number one strength? Well, you're good at this, good at this. What is not my strength? Well, you're not organized. You're not somebody that you want everything to be organized and you know exactly what you want to do, but you're not organized. But you have organized people around you that organize everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
You love service. If service isn't good, quality isn't good, you do not tolerate that. You will not go to that restaurant. You're gonna say, okay, cool. What else? So she started telling me this. You're not good with people. This. You're not okay. Great, got it. All right. You kind of sit there and say, okay, I don't have to be great at every aspect of it. But the moment you identify the top strengths that you have and you're comfortable with, and you don't sit there comparing yourself, that guy's better than me in this, that guy's better than me in this, it's totally fine. And you play ball with that. That is the way you can hedge and have an advantage over your competitors, because I'm not directly competing with you in areas of weakness. The idea is to compete with your competitor directly in areas that are your strengths, not directly in areas that are his or her strengths. Because if you ever directly compete with a competitor in areas of their strengths, you will be exploited. You will be embarrassed. There's always some. If you're a jab person and the other person's an uppercut person, if you go and trying to beat the guy with uppercuts, you're gonna lose. But if you're a jab person and you're a guy that wins after 8 rounds, you just keep the guy away and he's throwing all the uppercuts and you keep him till the 8th round and his stamina is going down. Now you can go and throw whatever you need to throw, but you have to play to your strength. So in the game of business, ego is obviously a very big one to do that. But once you identify your strengths and can figure out a way to compete in your turf of that area, again, you're putting yourself in a position to have an advantage over your competitors.
And knowing your weaknesses. That's one thing that helped me so much, is just being honest with myself about my weaknesses, then hiring people around me to fill that void. And that really allows you to scale faster. At least it did with me.
No question about it.
All right, one last thing, Patrick. I get asked all the time what the most important keys to success are. And I wanted to give you the answer that I usually give people to get your feedback on it. What I always say, especially in business, I said, number one, you got to be willing to sacrifice things that other people aren't willing to sacrifice. Number two, you have to be able to manage people. Number three, you have to be able to solve problems. What do you think?
I like that a lot. It's a great list. So you asked me about number one key to success. I would say on the personal side, it's alignment. So what is alignment? Whatever values and principles that you have, the closer you live by them, the happier you are. If you have a certain set of values and principles that you declare to the world and you don't live by it and you're unaligned, you're miserable. You are, and I know that personally from having done that, you're miserable. So make sure your values and principles match the way you live. That's number one. Number two, on the business side, is this whole thing with keys to success. I used to always ask people, what's the key to success? What's the key to success? What's the key to success? And you would hear, marry the right person, have God in your life, pray every morning, work out, hard work, save money, all this other stuff. And I said, to me, I think the number one key to success and why people eventually make it to the top, take away integrity, assuming you have integrity and all that stuff, is how you process issues. I can't tell you how much, like I sit there and I'll watch somebody, yesterday I was putting out a fire and I gave the situation to another person. I said, how would you have handled it? Well, I would have done this first, that first, this first. Then I gave it to another person. I gave it to another person. The top earner gave the best way she would process it. It's here's how I process this issue. First, I would find out. Okay, great. So processing issues, to me, if I can teach my kids how to process issues, if they want to be a Buddhist, is because they learn the system of how to who you marry is about processing issues. When it's sitting down with the girl you're dating or the guy you're dating, and you get to know the parents, you're like, ooh, I'm gonna have problems with the mom. I'm gonna have problems with the dad. Okay, they're pretty cool. Oh, I'm gonna have problems with the sister. Oh, I'm gonna have problems with the ex because he's messaged me already on Instagram. So I'm gonna have a problem there. And then she tells you, well, I've had 5 sexual partners. In your head, you're like, well, is the rule of 3 correct? 5 means 15. Is it 15? Is it 5? Am I okay with 15? What you, by the way, I know this sounds funny, but to us, then eventually it gets to a point, you've been together 6 months, you've been together 12 months. You're like, this is kind of the time. I'm 29, she's 28. Is it time? She's kind of brought it up before. Her parents have brought it up before. Do I now propose? Do we wait 6 months? If I wait too long, is she going to leave me? What if this happens? So then you get to a point and you're having dinner with her and you say, yeah, probably 70% chance this would work. Okay. You don't marry anybody saying 100% this would work. You know you have a number in your mind, and it's a risk. By the way, she has it as well. She knows your temper, your flaws, your habits, your vice. The girl, she knows it as well. He knows it as well, right? You marry based on a percentage, but marriage is processing issues. Finances is processing issues. Investing into Bitcoin is processing issues. Buying gold, silver, processing issues. Do I buy GameStop stock? Processing issues. Do I buy baseball cards? Do I gamble? Do I not gamble? Do I smoke weed? Do I do cocaine? Everything is processing issues. So if you get a good system to process issues, you will make better decisions in life. And if you make better decisions in life, it's not just good for business. It's good for every aspect of your life.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice.